Rich, Tennessee Homestead. How the heck are you today? This is not the video that I had planned for you folks today, but it's the one that needs to be said. And I may get my hand slapped on this platform because of it, but it's getting said. And you saw the title of this thing. Congress is not doing its job. And it's not. It just isn't. But I went to the barber shop to get a haircut yesterday. And I know you're saying, next time sit closer to the barber. Yeah, because it doesn't look like you got your haircut. No, I didn't. I paid for another man's haircut. I had to kind of do it on the QT, and got Bob, one of the barbers there, to go along with the Memorial Day give a veteran a free haircut. That's what the guy thought. He's a very proud man. And, knew he wasn't going to take it. Somebody just paying for his haircut. The end of the story works out fairly well for him, because Bob and Tom, both of them, felt kind of sorry for him. But this is a story of what's going on with your government and with this ridiculous lockdown stuff. To start with, I'd heard again about the jumped up figures, went and checked, and lo and behold, no, it hasn't. They come up with a new map, and I think that's what the media is getting at. Of these state-by-state maps, which shows the totals being somewhere in the neighborhood of 98,000 deaths. But then you got to go back and find their footnotes and all this. And the charts that I was using, the actual spreadsheets, are the confirmed cases of, Okay. But, more dead, better. And now they're having the big hoopla out here of, these states that open these places up, their death tolls are shooting through the roof, as they like to tell. We even listed Tennessee. Yeah, we had two more people die. That's it. Two. Okay. Flu is still leading the charge. Standard normal flu. But the media right now is beating their drums, and I'll eventually get to this other gentleman here in a minute. But they're beating the drum of, look, these states have begun to open things up, and look, they're getting more cases. Yes, that's going to happen. So either we leave this economy shut down and everybody hiding in their houses for probably many years to come. Yeah. Because this bug is out there and it ain't going to go away. The way flu viruses end up going away, either A, you come up with a drug that triggers our immune system to combat virus, or they call it herd immunity. You got to get it. For most people, it's a very, very, very mild case of flu. Mild fever, little body aches, maybe some congestion, pretty mild. Some people who went through it didn't even know they had it. They just thought they were just kind of under the weather. Because when they go get tested, they found out they had antibodies already built for it. Now, there's one that they're not releasing out in the media too much. There's a lot of people that had these tests done, and it came back positive for the COVID-19. Or at least the antibodies for the COVID-19, where they'd had it. They recovered from it. And now they're immune to it. If the government had to force these pharmaceutical companies to do something with SARS, we wouldn't have this pandemic today, now would we? But there wasn't enough money in it. Yeah. So I laid the deaths of these people firmly on the shoulders of the pharmaceutical companies, who, because of the profit margins in taking care of the coronavirus back when we had the SARS come through, And the CDC is even still referring to it as, even at times, some of their paperwork, as the SARS virus. Yeah, son of a gun. Media don't want to tell you that, though, because that would make their pharmaceutical companies look bad, and they're probably their advertisers, so we're not going to do that. It is going to go away, and we're going to open up the nation, and suddenly it's going to break out again. Why? Because we didn't get herd immunity. I know that sounds like a terrible term, but that's what they call it, herd immunity. I have been watching some doctors, and if you go out there and start searching for doctors talking about this pandemic, you will find a lot of them are saying the same thing. Yeah, nah, it's BS. And they had those doctors out of California that got a YouTube channel pulled because of it. There's other doctors out there too saying the same thing. You got to have the herd immunity take place. So yes, when we all go back to work, yes, they're going to spike. We're going to have a bunch more cases. Okay. And I think if you really dig into your research, you're going to find that this is more about the government not wanting you to really understand that if we ever do have a true pandemic, we're in big trouble because we do not have the hospital beds to take care of all you butts. All right? That's what they're worried about. Is that y'all get upset about that. They're afraid of the question that you might ask of, where did all these hospitals go to, guys? Who had been in this country for a lot of years. And as the population grew, our hospitals shrunk. Why? They're not going to like the answers that places like the American Hospital Association is going to come up with. It's because of government meddling and red tape and paperwork in the medical industry. There you go. The government did it. Okay, once again. Let me get to the reason I'm doing this video. Listening to a guy talk at the barbershop, he's getting his haircut. And he, I guess, had a pretty massive heart attack, had some open heart surgery, all this kind of stuff. He had been disabled for quite a while now. Looked like he was probably 67, 68 years old. He's on disability. His wife worked as a cook for one of the restaurants there in town and disappeared because of the shutdown. Gone. Her job is gone. Well, because the restaurant was a little hanging on by the skin of its teeth, she worked there for cash. Raising her grandson. Yeah. So she can't file unemployment because technically she didn't have a job. Okay, she was being paid cash, under the table kind of thing. He worked doing silly stuff like, doing drywall patching and painting rooms and stuff like this for people. Well, with the shutdown and everybody running around with their little masks, thinking, oh, if I catch this bug, I'm dead. Bull. Okay, bull. But that's the way it went. Okay, Tennessee, our normal influenza numbers were about the same. Okay, even with the COVID. Yeah. A lot of states are pretty low. Problem is, get out of the cities. Okay, nothing but petri jars. I think I said that at the beginning of this. Anyway, we're still the same number of cases and fatalities and so forth. In our counties up in here, the more rural the county, the less the problem. Yeah, get out of the cities. But this family lost a large chunk of their income. And the guy was saying, he said, we still have a small mortgage payment. He said, now the government said they were going to force the banks to hold off on foreclosing. He said, my thing is, he says, we're not going to be able to save up a bunch of money. He said, with the loss of the income that we've had, we have to pay utilities, buy food, blah, blah, blah. They're not being able to put back that mortgage money to where, and he's smart enough to understand, he said, as soon as the government lifts its hand, these banks are coming calling in droves. Done it before, we'll do it again. Okay? So, this fella is worried, really worried. And I told him, I said, well, didn't that, so you guys should have got, $3,000, close to $3,000 last month for the stimulus. He's never received it. Never received it. And I said, well, don't you get your Social Security direct deposited? He said, yeah, it does. He said, and he said before that, he always had his, when he was working, he had his tax money deposited to the exact same account. He said, so the government's got the account numbers and stuff. And he said, but he's been trying to call them. Good luck with that. He said, you'll spend all day on the phone and then still not get to talk to anybody. So, still hadn't got a stimulus check. So I started doing a little poking around after I got back. A lot of people did. To give you some idea, I talked with people I know, and I found at least 4 people who are on Social Security who get direct deposits who got nothing yet. Nothing. So then I went out and started doing some research. Now, apparently the IRS is having problems. Gee, that's a shock. Federal agency having problems doing something for the people? Yeah. Well, that you never think that'd ever happen, huh? So their solution to the problem is to hire 3,500 phone operators to answer the phones, which means that the supervisors over these call centers just got their pay grades changed because now they're supervising 3,500 more people. Yeah, that's a game played in the federal government. Yeah. You're at a certain level, your particular job with the amount of people you supervise caps out at a certain level. Now, if you increase the size of your department, you increase your grade. And guess what? Now, if they, after this is over, take those 3,500 people out of there, their grade doesn't change, so they just keep making more money. So this poor guy, he is almost to the point of suicidal. Too proud to go down and get on food stamps. He said, I've never done that in my entire life. He said, I'll go shoot myself before I do something like that. So, I paid for his haircut. The 2 barbers in there said, we could use somebody to come into the shop at closing and kind of sweep the place up. He said, we couldn't pay you much. He said, well, we'll get you a key cut, and you just come in, clean up, and out the door. He said, as a matter of fact, he said you were a painter, and we were looking to get the inside of this place painted, and you could probably do that too. Trying to get him some work. Because the government has not done what they said they were going to do. And now you have the second stimulus, okay, that they have just totally screwed up. With the Democrats, with their trying to cram every little dream that they've ever come up with into a bill that's supposed to help the working people in this country. But the Democrats have loaded it up with such a bill they knew it would never pass. And they don't really care. You go out there and check out some of the one video I ran across with Nancy Pelosi talking about her ice cream and their $3,000 refrigerators and her baskets of chocolate. This woman thinks she's Marie Antoinette, I think. Let them eat cake. If there is any thinking adult still left in the city of San Francisco, you need to try to get that woman voted out of office. She is a lunatic, and she thinks she's the queen. To the rest of us, let's take the majority out of the House away from Nancy Pelosi and move her back down to way minority position. Like maybe her and 2 others are left is it. This election coming up is going to be very important. It is going to pick the direction of this country. Better be there in numbers. And let's shut this mess down once and for all. Let them know we've had enough. It is time we put the government back in. Matter of fact, I just saw today to where they're filing a constitutional violation complaint against Nancy Pelosi for her vote by proxy. Yeah, to where 10 members can vote for the entire Democratic Party. Yeah. Never been done in the history of this country, ever. Okay. Matter of fact, the Constitution is pretty clear on Okay. And so anything that they would pass would be unconstitutional and wouldn't work anyway. But they've loaded this bill up to where it didn't pass the Senate, and any thinking person would. Oh, let's help the working people, but these college kids who don't work, let's give them free tuition and forgive their debt. Bull. They wanted to go to college, and they took on the responsibility of that debt. Let them pay that debt. I've just probably lost 3 or 4 subscribers with that statement. It's called responsibility, children. If you can't afford the bill, don't sign up for the class. Okay? And I can speak to that firsthand because I went to college as an adult. And then the really stupid part of it is half of you are getting degrees in positions that are going to maybe qualify you to be a barista at Starbucks, and you can't afford to pay it. When you could have went to a community college, something like that. Matter of fact, search out there. There's Mike Rowe put a commencement address that he made to people that he has a scholarship to send people to community colleges to learn trades. And he was showcasing some of the successes of that program. You kids are talking about, well, we want to get a college degree so we can make 6 figures. So you want to waste 4 years of your life to earn 6 figures, really? He's got a list of people who used 2 years to make 6-figure incomes. 2 years. And didn't have a big bill. Okay? A lot of states like Tennessee, community college is free. Yeah. You want a free college? There you go. But yeah, stuck that in there. All kinds of nonsense. Instead of helping the American people out. This is ridiculous. 1, the media has already started the pounding of the drum because as states have opened up, the cases have ticked back up again. Yeah, it's going to. Yeah. It's just the nature of the beast, folks. Everybody ran and hid from the virus, and the virus is out there waiting for you to come and play. And it's going to affect you. And you're going to get a little sick. Some of you, if you have bad health conditions, may end up in bad shape. It's got to happen. Okay? And if you have health issues, cancers, bad heart, lung cancer, things of this nature, you may want to self-isolate till they find a vaccine for it. That's on you. Okay? Herd immunity. Has to happen. I've been saying that all along. Okay? But to not even fulfill the first stimulus, Congress has went too far. Congress is no longer doing its job. It is not, this government doesn't function. Okay? Now that was the whole reason that they amended the Constitution to make the Senate a elected position, basically another House of Representatives, when it should have been the representatives of the states. I think it's about time we push that back the other direction. Kind of like prohibition. Tried it, didn't work so well. It's not working so well. I don't think it's allowed for us. Consolidation of power and consolidation of bribe money and lobbyist money into Washington, D.C. Need to push that Senate back to the states. Will it cause gridlock? Yeah. Because the government is forever cooking up these, that's the reason so many states have to charge state taxes. Because your federal government puts in these programs and tell the states, you have to pay for them. No, they don't. But then you get called some kind of backwater state if you don't get in with the program. Okay? Common Core. You lose educational money if you don't put in for this. The extension of Medicare or Medicaid. Our state didn't pick up on it. Okay? Because once that federal funds run out, these people's Medicare went up, or Medicaid went up through the roof. States need to have a voice in the federal government. Because constitutionality, if you look at our Constitution, the supreme ruler, you might say, of the land is you, the people, backed up by the states, backed up by the federal government within the constraints of the Constitution, which they have not been constrained by the Constitution since before the outbreak of the Civil War. Okay, that's just that simple, folks. They started tearing that Constitution apart, and they've gotten to the point now to where they just flip and ignore it. Means nothing to them. And the only way it's going to mean something to your government is if you stand up and say, that's enough, no more, we've had enough. And we are going to put you back in that box. The confines of the United States Constitution, because it is the supreme law of the land, and if the Supreme Court justices want to start trying their weird interpretations of it, we're going to call them out too. But according to the Constitution, it doesn't really matter, because your state would have the right to tell the Supreme Court to go suck an egg. Well, that's different, huh? It's constitutional. Your Supreme Court doesn't have any. Supreme Court rules and reigns over the federal government. That's what their job is. All right? Not over the states. The states is above the federal government. And you are in charge of your states. So if you're living in one of these blue states that they're driving you crazy, taxing you to death, running the businesses out, hey, you're the boss. Take charge. Fix it. Don't whine about it. Fix it. One of the big fixes we could do is give the states representation in the federal government. They need the Senate back. There is a reason that the Senate is made up from 2 people from each state. It has nothing to do with population, because the population doesn't put them in there. The states do. And every state has the same voice. Stimulus checks from the first round, just in my circle, I found a lot of people that didn't get theirs. I thought they were doing a real good job, because man, they passed it, and I think 4 days later, showed up my check account. I was amazed. But man, they're really getting this done. Apparently not. And there is no excuse, none, that they can offer up to justify that. None. They should have hired 3,500 new IRS workers to get those checks out, not to answer the phone telling them why we can't. And if the IRS is too inept to process those checks out, time to change out that organization too. And I'm going to leave on this. Me and a subscriber got into a conversation. You want to fix your government? Get them back into the constitutional restraints, and then make your representatives go in there and take a look at every department in the federal government. Pull up the law that created them. What was their mandate? What were you created to do? DEA would be a good one to look at. What was the DEA created back in 1973 to do? Well, they were to stop illegal drugs from entering into the United States. 1973. They have close to 11,000 employees. A budget of $3 billion a year. Yeah, the average DEA agent makes close to $100,000 a year. Plus the rents for all their buildings. Things of this nature. Pretty good operation. How we doing, DEA? You stopped it? Have you got a date that you did stop it? The DEA is never going to be able to stop it. Okay? There's the fact. So what do we do in America? Why don't we do things, interstate transportation of illegal goods, services, that falls under the FBI. Why isn't the FBI dealing with this? They have a drug enforcement division. Why do we have this new little department? DEA alone, if you said, okay, you haven't lived up to your mandate, your funding just ended. Close up your buildings, send your people home, you're done now. Okay? Right there's 11,000 people unemployed. One agency. How about the Department of Education? I've read their mandate. I was fascinated by that. Do you know that we were like number 3 when they were created in the world as far as quality of education? And they were to take us and improve that number 3. Give us the best educational system, educate our children better than any other people in the world. We're somewhere down around 10 now. So has the Federal Department of Education, have they fulfilled their mandate? No. Straight up answer. No, they have not. Time to stop funding them. Tell them at the end of this year, you're all gone. Have a nice day. We're going to turn education back over to the states. And you want to see education improve? Give the states the money divided up amongst the states of what you're paying for the Department of Education at the federal level. Here again, lots of federal employees just disappeared off the job rolls. I kind of went down through the list a while back, it was some time back. The problem they're not going to do that is because if you started shutting down these absolutely worthless, money-wasting pieces of crap federal agencies, many of them duplicating one another, you would have unemployment that would make the Great Depression look wonderful. That's how many people are on the public dime. Is it going to be painful to get them off of it? You bet. And here's why. Number 1, these people, average cop, that's what DEA agents are, cops. Most of them don't make $100,000 a year plus benefits, plus 30 days worth of sick time a year and 30 days worth of vacation time a year and all the federal holidays. Yeah, government service comes with a lot of perks. Used to be, way back when, is that government employees, federal employees, were paid less than the free market. Why? Because they had extra perks and they had job security. Today, you can't hardly fire them. I mean, they caught a whole bunch of them that were sitting around spending their days looking at pornography on their computers. They got caught. Did they get fired? No, they got transferred. These clowns that did all that partying out in Vegas, it was a big hoopla a few years back. When Barack was in office. They get fired? Nah. No, and then Barack Obama landed on the Las Vegas to kind of pay them back for ratting them out and told people, you don't need to go to Vegas. Crush the economy out there. You are being controlled by a group of corporations who want a global economy and a global government. Now, they need the global government to keep their global economy intact. Biggest problem with the global government is the only way to keep their global economy intact and their global government intact is to make all countries socialist nations. Socialists. That's where you're headed. And when they become socialists, kind of like Red China, step out of line. See what happens. America, you better wake up. Your forefathers gave you a republic, a constitutional republic. You don't even know what your government's doing because their lunch menus are classified. Can't tell the Americans. They'll show up and kick our butts. Used to be classified information was primarily truly national security stuff that you didn't want the enemy to know about. Anymore, it's like I'm talking bad about some other leader and I don't want that leader to know about it, so we're going to classify it. Federal Reserve, what have we done, man? They got you. God save us. I didn't want to be here to watch this, but you headed toward it. Here they had people stay home, took away their incomes, promised them that we're going to help you, and have delivered very little to nothing. Okay. A little old man and his wife, trying to raise a grandchild, lost their livelihood over this. Sad. And we are standing by, letting it happen. It's time America stood up. Of course, with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, that socialist government is a dream come true. And half of these college kids, until they find out, just like Mao said about Stalin, they were useful idiots. Now we're done with them, and we'll put them under control. And they are rabble-rousing troublemakers, so maybe we need to re-educate them. That's your future. Keep pushing for it. Right now, you're a free person. Won't be much longer. Because COVID-19 is coming back at you. Already the media is starting to crank up the panic again. Wake up, America. I know this is wasted words, but to watch that little old man, you can see him tearing up. He'd spent his whole life doing what he was supposed to do. And he let this political game that they're playing with this flu tear his world apart. And they're having problems feeding their family. Our federal officials need to hang their heads in shame. Donald Trump, you need to stand up and do something. Because what you guys have done is bad. And sad. Y'all take care. Love you guys. I appreciate you.